Have you ever stopped to think about like how you've been carrying this thing since the day you were born, you know? This incredibly personal thing that's like totally fundamental to who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Your name, right. But it's so much more than just what people call you.
Oh, absolutely. Way more. It
Uh,
really is like a deep dive in itself, the whole idea of names.
It is. And that is exactly what we're doing today. We're diving deep into the hidden power within our names. And we've got some really fascinating sources to work with.
Yeah, these YouTube videos you sent over, they really run the gamut from ancient spiritual traditions to modern interpretations. Like, wow, it's pretty amazing how much people have thought about this.
Right. And the goal here is for you, the listener, to get a better understanding of how significant your own name could be. And we want to do that quickly, but also like thoroughly. So we've really tried to distill things down to the most important insights and honestly, some surprising facts.
Yeah, we're not going to overwhelm you with a ton of information. We're just going to hit the high points and hopefully get you thinking about this in a new way.
Exactly. So I guess the place to start is with this question. Where do we even begin to unpack something as fundamental as our names, right? Like, how do we even approach?
One of the most fascinating places to start, I think, is by looking at how ancient cultures viewed names.
Okay, yeah.
You see, across so many different cultures and time periods, there's this really strong sense that a name held, like a fundamental energetic pattern, like almost a sacred code, you know?
Yeah.
Think about ancient mystics. Traditions like the Hebrew Kabbalah, Sanskrit teachings, these are just a few examples, but they all consistently saw names as holding much more than just a way to identify someone.
Like it wasn't just a label.
Right,
It
exactly.
was something deeper.
Way deeper.
Okay, so what are some examples? Like, how did these ancient cultures actually treat names differently than we do today?
Oh, there are tons of examples. Take ancient Egypt. They had this concept of the Ren, R-E-N. It was considered like your true name, the one that was deeply connected to your soul. And they believed that if someone knew your Ren, they actually had power over your destiny.
Wow, that's intense.
It is. And if your name was erased, well, that was basically oblivion. You ceased to exist.
Uh-huh.
And this belief is reflected in how pharaohs would inscribe their names on monuments, like for eternity.
Oh, right.
They were trying to ensure their continued existence, their legacy. So it wasn't just a way to be remembered. It was a way to hold on to their power even after death.
So they really put a lot of stock in the power of names.
Absolutely. And this idea of an essential name, a name with power, it's not just limited to Egypt, though. You see it in other traditions as well. Like, think about the Old Testament. When Abram becomes Abraham, it's not just a spelling change.
Right, it's like a whole new hymn.
It's a complete transformation. It signifies a shift in his spiritual contract, a change in his very being and destiny.
That's a great example.
Yeah, and you've got the Hindu tradition where naming a child based on their nakshatra, which is their astrological constellation at birth,
Okay.
they believe this aligned the child with specific cosmic energies from the get-go. It was all about harmonizing the individual with the universe through their very name.
So they're trying to like set them up for success.
Exactly. Set them on the right path.
Right from the start.
Right from day one.
Is it?
And, you know, if we zoom out a little bit, we see similar ideas in indigenous cultures, tribal rituals, where names are often drawn from significant events or dreams or animals, sometimes even what were perceived as divine visions.
It's really interesting how the name is seen as almost like a reflection of a person's destiny or purpose.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to capture the essence of the individual or the path they're meant to walk within their name.
So it's not just a random label.
No, not at all. Not random at all. In Norse mythology, knowing a god's true name was believed to grant you power over them. In the Jewish Kabbalah, each letter of a name is associated with a specific sacred geometry, giving the name a kind of numerical blueprint.
Like a code.
Right, a code.
And it's amazing how widespread these beliefs were. Even in African and Native American traditions, names were often derived from visions, dreams, ancestral wisdom. The common thread seems to be that a name wasn't just a label. It was a carefully chosen container believed to hold a person's destiny, their soul's assignment.
Exactly. They believed that a name had the power to shape a person's life. So, you know, we've been talking about ancient cultures and their beliefs, but what about today? What does modern science have to say about the power of names?
Right. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about modern science because, you know, all this ancient wisdom is fascinating, but does any of it hold up under scientific scrutiny? What have we learned about the potential influence of our names through like research and stuff?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because, you know, some newer fields are actually starting to touch on these ancient ideas in ways that are pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So one field that's starting to explore this is quantum linguistics.
Quantum linguistics.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know. But essentially, it's this idea that the phonetic structure of a name, the actual sounds, could actually influence our brain's neural pathways and even our energetic field.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That sounds kind of out there. Like, are we talking science fiction here, or is there real evidence to support this?
It's definitely cutting-edge field, and there's still a lot we don't know. But the basic premise is that the vibrations inherent in our names might interact with, like, the fundamental fabric of reality at a very subtle level. And this ties back to those ancient beliefs about names holding a certain energetic pattern or code. It's like the modern world catching up with ancient wisdom.
That's wild. Okay, but what about more established fields like linguistics and psychology? Have they found any evidence that our names can influence us?
They have. For example, there's research suggesting that our names can subtly shape our self-image and even play a role in the choices we make in life.
Really? Like what kind of choice?
Well, everything from who we're drawn to as friends and romantic partners to the careers we choose. It's not like our name determines our destiny, but it might be a subtle nudge in certain directions.
That's fascinating. So it's not just some mystical concept. There's actual research hinting at this connection.
There is. And then there's epigenetics, the study of how our environment can actually influence how our genes express themselves.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Some researchers believe that frequencies and vibrations, like the ones present in our spoken names, could potentially have a subtle influence at this epigenetic level, affecting our biology in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
So you're saying that the sound of my name could actually be affecting my genes?
Well, it's a possibility. It's an area that requires further research, but it's definitely an intriguing concept. And we're seeing the effects of sound and vibration in other fields, like sound therapy and vibrational medicine, which shows how they can have a real impact on human biological systems.
Okay, that makes sense. So the idea of names carrying a certain vibration isn't completely out there then. But what about this name letter effect I keep hearing about? This idea that we're subconsciously drawn to things that share letters with our own names.
Oh, that's a well-documented phenomenon in psycholinguistics. It's called the name letter effect. And it shows that we often have a subconscious preference for things that include the first letters of our name. Psychologists believe this might stem from a sense of familiarity and positive association with those letters. It's like our brains are wired to respond favorably to things that remind us of ourselves, even in subtle ways.
So you're saying that my subconscious might be guiding me towards certain people or places just because they have a familiar letter in their name?
Exactly. It might be influencing our choices in subtle, unconscious ways. And then there's this quirky concept called nominative determinism, which suggests that people might be drawn to careers or cities that seem to fit their name.
I've heard of that, like a musician named Melody or a baker named Baker.
Right, exactly. Or a doctor named Doctor. It almost sounds like a coincidence, but the sheer number of examples makes you wonder if there's something more to it.
Yeah, it's kind of spooky, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
But, even if we set aside those more anecdotal examples, think about how much time and money companies invest in branding and product name. They understand the power of a name to shape our perceptions and influence our behavior.
Right.
And the same goes for usernames, nicknames, stage names. We're constantly aware of how these labels can shape our image and how others see us.
So it seems like from ancient spiritual practices to modern marketing strategies, there's this underlying awareness that names aren't just neutral markers, they hold a certain power.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's dive a bit deeper into this idea of names as vibration and energy. The source material talked about names carrying vibrational signatures, almost like personal mantras that program our subconscious. What exactly does that mean?
Right. Well, the theory is that through the repeated use of our name, a specific vibrational pattern is created, like a unique energetic signature. This pattern, much like a mantra, can have a profound influence on our subconscious beliefs and our overall energetic field.
And how does this relate to the idea that the universe, in a way, hears us when our name is called and responds accordingly?
It's all about resonance. The idea is that our names carry a specific frequency, and this frequency interacts with the energy of the universe. When we put out a certain vibration, the universe responds in kind. It's a bit like the law of attraction, but on a more vibrational level.
And this connects with the quantum physics perspective, right? The understanding that everything is energy in a state of vibration. So when we speak our name, we're essentially projecting a frequency out into the world.
Exactly. From a quantum viewpoint, our spoken names become acts of creation, constantly affirming our identity and our presence within this interconnected web of energy.
Wow, that's pretty profound. So it's like our name is a constant affirmation of who we are in the universe.
Exactly. And, we have this concept called semantics, which explores how sound can actually shape matter. So the idea is that the unique sound structure of our names creates distinct vibrational patterns that can influence our interactions with the world.
So you're saying that the specific sounds in my name could be affecting my reality in subtle ways?
It's a possibility. The theory is that these vibrational patterns resonate within our energetic field and can influence the kind of experiences we attract.
This all makes me think about how my own name feels when I hear it. You know, the sources mention that the feeling we get from our name, whether it feels sharp or soft, isn't just random.
You're right. That feeling is a direct result of the sounds that make up your name and the vibrations those sounds create.
Hmm.
And when you consider how many times we hear our names throughout our lives, it becomes clear how deeply those vibrations can affect us. It's like a constant reinforcement of our identity.
It's not just the sound itself, though, right? It's also the emotional baggage that can be attached to it. Think about all those childhood experiences, how our parents, teachers, friends spoke our name. Positive reinforcement versus times when we were blamed or ridiculed. That must have a huge impact on how we feel about our own name and, by extension, ourselves.
Absolutely. Our names become these containers of emotion, expectation, even spiritual energy, shaped by every interaction, every time they were spoken with love, with anger, with everything in between. And neurolinguistics shows us that those repeated verbal cues can have lasting effects on our self-perception and behavior, especially from our formative years.
That makes a lot of sense. So if our names carry all this weight, all this energy, is it possible to, I don't know, reclaim some of that energy, to work with it more consciously?
That's a great question, and the sources suggest it's definitely possible. It's about becoming more attuned to what your name is communicating about you and consciously aligning it with your deeper sense of purpose.
Okay, but how do we even start to do that? Like, what are some practical steps?
Well, meditation can be a great starting point. Just sit with your name, feel the vibrations, explore the emotions it evokes. You can also break it down, explore the etymology, the root sounds, maybe even look at it through the lens of numerology.
So, like, really getting to know our name on a deeper level.
Exactly.
The sources also talked about the possibility of reshaping our name, maybe through intentional mantras or a sacred renaming process.
Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean legally changing your name. It could be as simple as choosing a nickname that resonates more deeply with you, or just engaging with your given name in a more mindful way.
So, like, imbuing it with new meaning.
Exactly. The point is to see your name as a gateway, a unique vibrational key that can help you unlock your true potential.
So just being more conscious of my name, speaking it with intention, that could actually make...
Absolutely. By intentionally engaging with the sound and feeling of your name, you're sending a clear intention to the universe and reinforcing a more authentic connection to your own identity.
What about journaling about my... or meditating specifically on the sound of it?
Those are great practices. They can lead to surprising insights, synchronicities, maybe even vivid dreams or memories. It's about deepening that connection.
What if my name carries some negative baggage? You know, maybe it's associated with difficult experiences or trauma. Is there anything I can do about that?
There is. The sources talk about something called energetic reclamation, which involves consciously working to release those negative vibrations from your name.
How does that work?
Well, it might involve speaking your name gently with reverence, breathing into each syllable, visualizing it surrounded by light. You can also try writing it down as if it were a sacred symbol. The idea is to reclaim the positive essence of your name and separate it from the painful experience.
Like you're actively taking back your name.
Exactly, you're reclaiming its power.
The sources also mentioned name cleansing rituals using elements like water or salt and affirmation.
Those can be powerful tools for releasing negative energy. Water and salt are often used for purification, and the affirmations reinforce your intention to cleanse and renew the energetic imprint of your name. You might even consider subtly adjusting the pronunciation or spelling of your name if you feel it would create a more harmonious energy.
So even making small changes can have an impact. What about incorporating my name into my meditation practice or using anchoring?
That's a great way to make your name a more conscious and integrated part of your identity. By intentionally weaving it into your spiritual practices, you're strengthening the positive connection to your inner self.
And what about this idea of choosing a sacred name or an inner alter ego for transformation?
That taps into the power of intention. It's about consciously choosing a name that represents the person you're becoming, the qualities you want to embody.
So even if we don't legally change our name, we can still use names as tools for personal growth and transformation.
Exactly. By consciously honoring our name, in whatever way feels most authentic, we can shift our energy and create positive change in our lives.
Now let's talk about numerology. The sources went into some detail about how numerology can be applied to our names. The idea that letters have vibrational signatures and numerical values that can reveal insights into our soul's journey.
Numerology is a fascinating field. It suggests that our names hold a kind of numerical blueprint that can offer clues about our strengths, challenges, and potential path.
And you mentioned gematria, which is a specific type of numerology used to decode names. Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. Gematria is an ancient Jewish mystical tradition that assigns numerical values to Hebrew letters. By calculating these values for a name, practitioners believe they can uncover hidden meanings and deeper insights into the essence of that name.
So by analyzing the numerical values in my name, I could potentially gain a deeper understanding of my life path or my soul's purpose.
That's the idea. It's a way of looking at our name through a different lens and uncovering hidden layers of meaning.
This makes me think about the power of our own beliefs and intentions when it comes to our... the sources suggested that the power of a name might be linked to how strongly we believe in it and the emotions we associate.
Absolutely. Our beliefs and emotions have a huge impact on how our name influences us. Names that are tied to trauma, for example, can have a very real and lasting negative effect. On the other hand, if we imbue our name with positive energy and intention, it can become a source of strength and empowerment.
And some cultures even believe that names can listen, that speaking a name can invoke a certain power or energy. Like that example from Mesopotamian demonology, where they believed that speaking a demon's name at night would draw its attention.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense in some traditions that names hold a certain power to connect us with specific energies or entities, whether we take that literally or metaphorically. It speaks to the idea that names are more than just labels. They have a certain vibrancy and potency.
So it all comes back to intention. When we engage with our names consciously and with purpose, they can become powerful tools for self-discovery and transformation.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our name is a gift, a sacred vibration that we carry with us throughout our lives.
And sometimes that might involve choosing a new name or embracing a different aspect of our given name as a way to step more fully into who we're meant to be.
Right. Whether it's a spiritual teacher adopting a new name to mark a significant shift in their path, or someone simply choosing to go by a different nickname, the act of consciously choosing a name can be a powerful way to align with our true selves.
It all circles back to that core message. Our name is so much more than just a label. It's a frequency, a vibration, key that unlocks hidden potentials within us.
It's an invitation to explore the deeper layers of who we are and to step into our power.
So, for our listener who's been on this deep dive with us, what's the most important takeaway you'd like with?
I would encourage them to simply ask themselves, how does my name feel? Does it resonate with who I am or who I'm becoming? Does it feel empowering, or does it carry weight that I need to address?
Those are great questions to reflect on. And what's one tangible step our listener could take to explore this further?
I'd suggest spending some time meditating on your name. Maybe research its origins and meaning. Pay attention to how it feels in your body when you hear it and when you say it yourself. Just start to build that awareness.
It sounds like this is really just the beginning of a much deeper exploration into the power of name. And I have to say, this conversation has definitely given me a whole new perspective on something I've always taken for granted.
Me too. It's amazing what we can uncover when we start to pay attention to the subtle energies that shape our lives.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. It's been a truly enlightening deep dive.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.